Hello, today we're going to talk about enharmonic notes. Now for some of you, hopefully you remember this as a review. But again, it's very important to understand this concept in music. It really helps us with our fingerings. So every once in a while you'll see a note. We don't really see it that often, and then you got to stop, you're not sure what to play, and you got to check your fingering chart, and it really becomes kind of almost a waste of time when it's something you really already know. If you know your enharmonic notes, if you know how to figure out the enharmonic note, it almost will always tell you how to play the note as far as fingerings go. You'll go, oh, I've played that note, I know what that is. But sometimes we see it and it's a little different. Like, for instance, in A sharp. We don't see A sharp a whole lot. And really, in most of our instruments, in the flutes and the trumpets, you see an A sharp sometimes and it'll make us hesitate while we're sight reading a piece of music. But if we understand what the enharmonic is, all of a sudden we go, oh, I recognize that note, and you know the fingering right away. So enharmonic notes, the definition: two notes that sound the same but look different. Okay, it's two notes. To our ears, they sound exactly the same. But when we look at it in a piece of music, they look different. Now there's a reason why I do that. You know, they do those things. It's part of music theory. We have to have it written out correctly in the key signature that we are using. So that's why sometimes it has to be a note, and people say, well, why do they give us that note? We hardly ever say, why don't you just write it as B flat? And I say, well, because to be correct in the theory, they have to write it as an A sharp. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about A sharp. Now the process to figure out the enharmonic note is very simple. So here it is in treble clef. Here it is in bass clef. Both A sharps. And we go, oh man, you're cruising through a piece of music and everything's going great, and then all of a sudden you come up to this note, you see A sharp, and we have to hesitate. And we have to almost guess what the fingering's gonna be, and we might get it right, but we're not quite sure, and you gotta stop and look in your fingering chart. But let's figure out how to figure out what the enharmonic note is. Now we know that flats go down, sharps go up. In this case, we're at an A sharp. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at this note. It says A. What's the next note in the musical alphabet after A? Well, it's B. So we know it's B of some kind, some sort of B. And then all we do is we take the sharp and we put it in, what's the opposite of a sharp would be a flat. So the enharmonic note for A sharp is B flat. Again, to our ears it sounds exactly the same. There's no difference in the sound. But on a piece of music, it looks different. Either it's going to be like this or like this. Now we prefer it like this most of the time because this is what we see in our music. Every once in a while though, it would have to be written as an A sharp. And again, we've played B flat tons of times, and so we know that fingering. We've memorized that one. But A sharp, we don't see that often. But just how you figure your enharmonic note. So let's do a couple more. They're all the same. Let's do let's try this one. Let's do D flat. So again, sharps raise things, flats lower them. So we're going to go D flat. Now we're going to go the note before, or the one note lower than D flat. And that takes us to a C. And then we take the flat, and what's the opposite of a flat? It's a sharp. And so the enharmonic for D flat would be C sharp. Again, usually if there's one or the other that we've seen a lot of and we've played a lot of, which will help us figure out the fingerings for the note. We don't see that often. Trombone players might see this D flat a lot more than they'll see a C sharp in their music. But if they understand how to convert that C sharp into its enharmonic of D flat, they'll go, oh yeah, that's fifth position. That's easy, I've done that before. Again, making sure to be able to figure these things out easily so we can read our music more easily. Let's do one more. Let's go with F sharp. So again, we have our F sharp. Sharps tell us to raise it, so we go to the next note, the note above it, and we end up with a G. Then we reverse the sign. The opposite of a sharp is a flat. So the enharmonic for F sharp is G flat. And again, most of the time we'll see this. Alto saxophone players, they won't see this G flat that often, but they've seen F sharp quite a bit. And so they'll go, well, I'm not sure what a G flat is, but then if they stop and think about it and say, okay, G flat, what's its enharmonic? The flat tells me to go to the note before this one, or the one note lower. That would be F. I reverse the sign, F sharp. Oh, I've seen F sharp plenty of times, so I know what that is supposed to be. Or the fingering is very easy there. So, enharmonics, two notes that sound the same, but look different.